Thank you. I see the Minister for Human Settlements, Minister Marika Zilla.
Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy Speaker. Honorable Premier, Honorable Leader of the Opposition, Honorable Members of the House, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Deputy Speaker, there's a saying that says that if you become economical with the truth over and over again, you end up believing your own lies. Unfortunately, for this side of the House, voters could not be fooled because you would be sitting this side if voters believed everything that you said. So once again, I also want to join the Premier and a number of colleagues and thank the voters of this province by giving us a fresh mandate with a whopping 8% increase. In a State of the Province address, Premier Zilla said, and I quote, "I have left the biggest challenge we face for last, which is building integrated and sustainable human settlements in the province. This is essential for improving social cohesion and redressing the legacy of the past," unquote. Immediately after her speech, Mr. Deputy Speaker, we heard the opposition criticizing the Premier for lacking a plan to deal with housing crisis, in inverted commas. It is very clear that the opposition members heard what they wanted to hear because Premier was very clear on what needs to be done. In fact, the Department of Human Settlement is already doing some of the things that Premier spoke about. And unyanisile mhlekazi ungasela into ba babengamamelanga. Mr. Speaker, let me put the challenges that we are facing in human settlements into context by quoting the Chapter 2 of the Constitution, Bill of Rights, Section 21.1 and 2. Everyone has a right to have access, and I think we must note the word access, to adequate housing. 2, the state must take reasonable, legislative and other measures, again, within its available resources, to achieve the progressive realization of this right. Now, I'm quoting this, Mr. Deputy Speaker, because it is very, very clear that the ANC does not understand the meaning of this. Now, if anyone has to be blamed for the current situation in housing, is the ANC for raising unrealistic expectation in the country. I think we must be blunt about that. The ANC housing policy has entrenched a culture of dependency and entitlement and gave this impression that government will do everything for people and they must just fold their arms and wait for handouts. Now the difference between the Democratic Alliance and the ANC is that we are realistic about challenges that we face, and we are also realistic about the interventions that we make. The problem with the ANC is that they make these populist statements saying things that cannot be done. And that is very, very dangerous in the long run because it results in the situation that we are facing in human settlements. Now, let me then get to the real delivery story of the ANC that...
Order, did the member refer to members in this House?
No, I said he's protecting land thieves.
Please stand up when you speak.
I said he's protecting land thieves. If the shoe fits any of the members, they may wear it.
Take your seat, thank you. Minister, may I continue?
Let me then come to the real delivery story of the ANC, Mr. Deputy Speaker, which Honorable Member Makakla spoke about. Since the dawn of democracy, it is estimated that 3.3 million houses were built in South Africa, and around 280,000 of those houses are in Western Cape. The backlog at the time was estimated at 1.3 million households, but despite this success, we have seen massive increase to our backlog up to 2.3 million households nationally. and just over 500,000 in the Western Cape. What is more disturbing though, Mr. Deputy Speaker, is the quality of many of these houses, which was severely compromised in the quest to chase numbers by the ANC. Now, this is not coming from me. This is not coming from me, Mr. Deputy Speaker. According to the report, I want to always remind members. Can I be protected?
Order. Yes, I will protect you. Order.
I want to always remind members.
Order.
I want to always remind members that.
Give the order. Chief Whip, please allow the member a fair chance to speak. Thank you.
According to the report that was presented to the National Portfolio Committee by the National Department in 2012, Mr. Deputy Speaker, it is estimated that we will need about 50 billion rands, 50 billion rands to rectify houses that have been built by this government over the last 20 years. Now, this is a clear indication that this government took poor people for granted, dotted the landscape, changed the numbers, and compromised quality. In Western Cape alone, Mr. Deputy Speaker, because I want to talk to this delivery record that the ANC is talking. In Western Cape alone, Mr. Deputy Speaker, we had 46 block projects when this administration took over. And by the way, these houses under these block projects are part of the delivery record that the honorable member is talking about, affecting 15,000 families. These are projects where subsidies were paid, but the houses were either not built or left incomplete by the ANC government. More than 200 million rands has been spent by this administration to unblock these projects. Now, this is part of the delivery story that Honorable Member Makatla is talking about. Yes, yes. More than 23 million rand was spent.
Order, Honorable Magaka, is there a question?
Yes, I just want to check, Speaker, if we can take one question.
Is the Minister
Yes, I
prepared?
can.
You
Yes,
may
I
ask a
can.
question.
Okay. Is Honorable...
Minister, take your seat while he puts his question.
Is Honorable MEC acknowledges that the same problem is facing his department currently of more than 10,000 houses that are still not finished and some are poorly constructed?
Thank you, Minister.
This is a very weak question, Mr. Deputy Speaker, but I will answer it anyway. I spoke about the legacy of this government when we took over this administration, this ANC government, when we took over. Mr. Deputy Speaker, I spoke about the legacy of the ANC government when we took over in 2009.
Order, order.
Now, we are still busy unblocking
Order, Honourable David.
those houses.
Order, Honourable David, you're a new member and you speak a little bit too much for a new member in the front bench, but I'm giving you leeway. Honourable Minister, please continue.
We are still busy dealing with the legacy of shoddy workmanship under the project that I spoke about that affect 15,000 families. So that program is not yet completed because we have to strike the balance between building new homes and making sure that we deal with the problems that you left with those families. Now, secondly, since we took over this administration, Madam Deputy Speaker, to again answer his question, we have put a number of measures in place. In fact, if there is any structural problem in a housing project in this province, we are going to take the national agency because they must account for that. We are paying National Home Builders Regulatory Council, which is NHBRC, a lot of money to make sure that shoddy workmanship does not happen anymore. It's one of the measures that we have put in place, including, by the way, in a program called PHP, which was not the case under the ANC government. So, even though there are some areas where we have challenges, but we have made sure that those people are protected. There's warranty against those houses because NHBRC that we are paying has to ensure that those houses are correctly built. Now, the ANC The ANC is giving this impression that nothing is happening in this province when it comes to human settlements. Yet the facts on the ground speak a completely different story. There are 161 projects as we speak that are happening across the province. So the Western Cape is a very big construction site. And I can assure the ANC that none of those projects are in affluent areas. Because there's always this rhetoric that this government is spending money in rich areas. All 161 projects are in poor areas. Now, during the last 5 years, this department has spent every cent of its budget, receiving an unqualified audit report in consecutive years. If that can be described as a crisis, then surely we have different understanding of what the word means. Unrealistic expectations, population growth, shrinking fiscus due to high unemployment, and these are the real reason, Mr. Deputy Speaker, the real reason why we have the current situation that we have in the Western Cape. So it is not because nothing is being done, but the reality is that the population has grown by 46% since 1996 up until now. And some of these people also, no. These are some of the people who need houses, and when the population grows, it means that also put burden on this department. So let me also say this, that, Mr. Deputy Speaker, that it is not the responsibility of government to build people houses. Because I want to correct, no, let me correct you. Through you, Mr. Deputy Speaker,
Order.
the role of the government is to create conducive environment for investment, for job creation, so that people can be employed and become masters of their own destiny. It's not to treat people like invalids, as Honourable Member Paul suggests.
Point
so
of
that
order.
is the role of the government.
Order.
So it is unrealistic.
Order.
Honourable Speaker.
Order. Address the chair.
Honourable Speaker, Deputy Speaker, it is enshrined in the Constitution that everyone has a right to a dignified life.
Order, member. That is not a point of order.
He
Order.
said it is not
Order.
a right.
Point of order relates to the procedures of the House. That's not a point of order. Please proceed.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, I'm not sure whether the honourable member was not listening when I was quoting what the Constitution says. There is nowhere in the Constitution where it says government must give free houses or build houses for people. It is very clear what the Constitution says. So as I said here, we must not be populist, go around telling people things that cannot be done. We must not be populist, go around because we want to get votes and lie to people. No.
Order. Please continue, Minister.
Now, if we are serious about improving lives of many people in former settlements, Mr. Deputy Speaker, we need to invest in the area, in this area, and address the apartheid spatial planning.
Minister, your time has expired now. Your last sentence, please.
Lastly,
Order,
Mr. Deputy
order.
Speaker.
Order. Please.
Lastly,
please
Mr. Deputy Speaker, we have to implement the principles and the objectives of the NTP, which clearly says strong and efficient spatial planning system, well integrated
Minister,
across
your time
spheres
has
of
now
government,
expired. You've had
upgrade
some,
of all informal
leeway.
settlements.
Order. Unfortunately, your time has expired. I see the Honourable Dugmore.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. I must admit that the whole way this debate has been structured apropos of the Premier's opening address last week and her concluding by actually saying that she's left the most difficult part to last. I must admit, Deputy Speaker, that all of us were expecting the Honourable MEC to actually rise to the occasion. But I think that what we've actually heard really builds on what was essentially an admission in the speech of the Premier, is that the DA provincial government doesn't have a plan to deal with it, despite the fact that the President in his speech talked about the reality of urbanization, facing not only our province, but facing Gauteng, facing KwaZulu-Natal, and all other provinces where people seek opportunities. And our province is one of those. And what we're expecting, MEC, is for you to actually outline your actual strategy to begin to deal with this. In her speech, the Premier indicated very clearly that she's called, and it can only be on you, to develop a new housing model. Unfortunately, in the Premier's speech, he didn't give a time frame, and Honourable Mayor was very strong in his opening words about how everything has got a time frame, how everything has got a budget. But all we heard from the Premier was to say that we're working on a new housing model, but there were absolutely no time frames provided in that. And I think what we heard again from the MEC, given that all those expectations were built up, was that there's no plan, there's no time frame, and that indicates to us in the ANC that there is fundamentally a lack of political will to deal with this particular problem. And I think we must accept that. The Leader of the Opposition referred to the problem of sanitation, and yet in none of the speeches we've heard from the DA, from the Premier's opening address to all of her MECs, did we receive a clear, if we are honest, the MEC stood up with 2 pieces of paper. He did not stand up here in front of us with a plan. He did not stand up in front of us with a prepared speech. He had 2 pieces of paper when he referred to the Constitution, but ultimately you have failed the people of this province because you have not given hope. Promises were made, not only to informal settlements, but also to backyard dwellers. And those backyard dwellers have been disappointed by what has been said by the Premier. The expectation created that you, MEC Madikizela, would come forward with a reasonable plan. So what I think we are wanting to hear from Honourable Member Tiens Botha, and what we are wanting to hear from the Premier, is what is the time frame on this new housing model? What are the costs attached to it? Because the reality, and Honourable Member Magatla referred to that, when the ANC governed this province, literally twice the number of houses were actually built compared to the 5 years. Those are facts. You can check at them. The ANC built close to 20,000 houses in each year that it governed this province. The DA built close to 10 to 12,000 houses in every year that it governed. And those are facts. But I want to turn, Honourable Deputy Speaker, to say that it is an honour to participate in this debate and actually to reflect on the Premier's State of the Province address. And I would like to formally begin by quoting from the vision statement contained in the National Development Plan, which envisages the kind of South Africa we actually aspire to in 2030. And that vision statement says that through our service, we show our solidarity. We enjoy the same quality of service. We are connected through our caring. The beating heart of our country is a community that is all the enablers of modern life. We have water, we use a toilet, we have food on the table, we fall asleep without fear, we listen to rain on the roof, we gather together in front of heat. Further on, the vision statement refers to our leaders and leadership and actually says, we know our leaders as we have elected them and pledged them into office. They are wise in the use of our wealth, wise in knowing and understanding our wishes and needs, wise in expecting us to express ourselves to them in any appropriate manner we have agreed to be allowable, and wise in not silencing those who criticize, but to enable them through our rules of engagement to be even more rigorous in supporting a just society. Deputy Speaker, my concern is that our Premier, in her State of the Province address, has clearly been selective in her support for the National Development Plan and has only focused on certain parts of the plan while ignoring others. If indeed we are to realize the vision contained in the NDP, then we need an unequivocal commitment to its implementation. And I believe, Deputy Speaker, that the Premier needs to clarify exactly what she means when she says on the one hand that every proposal in the NDP is designed to create the conditions for job-creating growth, and then later on in her speech indicates that the Western Cape government supports most of the objectives of the NDP. Speaker, I hope that in her response, the Premier will inform this House exactly which of the objectives of the NDP are not supported by the Western Cape government, so that we can begin this next 5 years in an open way and begin to engage each other. The MEC for Health, for instance, Deputy Speaker, is on record as opposing the National Health Insurance System, as the Leader of the Opposition has indicated. NDP 2030 is very clear on the need to implement the NHI in a phased manner, which will include a focus on reducing the relative cost of private health care. What this House needs to know today is MEC Botha's view, also the view of the Premier and of the provincial government. Chapter 15 of the National Development Plan concerns nation building and social cohesion, and in fact urges two things: a sustained campaign against racism, sexism, homophobia, xenophobia, and also that employment equity continue, and that new models of broad-based black economic empowerment be explored to improve the efficacy of the program, and that clear targets should be set for broadening economic participation through enhancing the predictability for economic actors. Why in a province which clearly needs to confront racism and sexism and still so deeply entrenched in an apartheid and colonial past, do we not see any evidence of conscious programs to deal with the very real challenges of racism and sexism? What we need to see are practical programs which unite communities who battle over scarce resources and to build tolerance and respect for non-racialism. And when one makes the claim that an open opportunity society for all is the cornerstone of our Constitution and simply ignores the fact that our founding provisions contained in Chapter 1 of the Constitution state that our country is founded on human dignity and the achievement of equality with access to the achievement of equality, one actually undermines the critical need for redress as a platform on which equality and access to opportunity in fact need to be built. The NDP makes proposals for the state to be both capable and developmental, and as the ANC, we have been disappointed that the Premier's speech essentially has ignored the need for redress in our province. She has articulated the need for an open opportunity society. She has said nothing about equity and redress. She has said nothing about the need to look at new forms of ownership. We all agree on the need to grow this economy and to develop jobs, and in that sense, we agree with many of the proposals that the Premier has raised around job creation. But no word around expanding ownership patterns, no word about how previously disadvantaged communities will be brought into the ownership of this provincial economy. Madam Speaker, I want to welcome the Premier's announcement of the plan to increase access to broadband in our province. We look forward to hearing the details of the strategy in due course. This is in line with the NDP's proposal to establish a national, regional and municipal fibre optic network to provide the backbone for broadband access, driven by private investment and complemented by public funds to ensure the attainment of social objectives. The ANC's election manifesto has committed our government to connect all schools, public health facilities and other government facilities through broadband by 2020. And at least 90% of our community should have substantial and superfast broadband capacity by 2020. And I think this House needs to know that many of our provinces and national government are working on these particular proposals as we speak. But I wish to alert the Premier to a serious concern that I have in regard to the rollout in Western Cape schools. The decision by the DA government to close down the Kanya Technology Project in our schools has in fact had a negative impact on many of our schools in historically disadvantaged communities. Massive infrastructure was provided to equip our schools with computer labs, but the closure of the Kanya project has resulted in many of these labs not being maintained and supported over the last 3 to 4 years. And as we prepare to roll out broadband to our school, it is critical to do an audit of the current state of ICT provision in all of our schools. The voters of the Western Cape deserve an explanation as to why the Kanya project was closed and what has been done to support our schools who do not have the resources to maintain the labs. And this brings me, Deputy Speaker, to a very serious crisis faced by 3 of our primary schools in this province who have been affected by the Fulcon scandal, around which there's been a deafening silence from the Premier of this province. The Premier owes this House an explanation as to how a company that has faced 10 applications for liquidation in the Cape High Court, and a company which is taken over by Mr. Saul Logenberg, who has effectively been banned by the British Insolvency Service from being a UK company director for 11 years, was awarded tenders by the Provincial Department of Public Works. The 3 schools affected by this are Westvliet Primary and Parkview Primary in Atlantis and Willemsvallei Primary in Porterville. Fulcon was contracted to build new
Just your
schools
last sentence, Mr. Dugmore.
in this regard, and what we have essentially seen is that the DA provincial government has appointed a suspect contractor, and we now face a situation where
Thank
they've
you.
essentially failed to complete these
Time has
schools while our
expired.
learners are
Thank you
suffering.
very much. I see the Honourable Minister of Health, Mr. Botha.
Honourable Deputy Speaker, thank you very much for the opportunity to take part in this debate. albeit the last speaker. So I will try my best to do justice to this debate as well. I want to say congratulations to the Premier for her State of the Province address. She hasn't disappointed us as usual, and we are very excited about the new term ahead. We must remember, Deputy Speaker, that the state of government that we inherited when we took over from the ANC was of such nature that it took us about 3 years just to clean up the mess that they left. And so we didn't have a full term of office to work on the objectives of the Democratic Alliance in government. And so this term of office we will have a full 5-year term. So I think the trajectory of improvement and distinction of the Western Cape in comparison to the rest of the country will incline dramatically over this term of office. So I'm looking forward to that. I would be very concerned if I'm the ANC. I'm in the mother organization, ANC. I would be very, very concerned with what is happening with their structures in the Western Cape. It is obvious that the previous government, when they were in control, was a total mess. And they got rid of their premier, and there were brown envelopes and you know what. So it was a total mess. And then the hope of the president and the president of the ANC was then that the honourable colleague Maurice Fransman should take over the reins in the Western Cape and save the ANC. Instead, all he did was to build up debts which he hasn't paid since he took over the party. So that didn't improve their performance at all. Now, it is very strange for me that the ANC has decided as an organization to redeploy previous failures, such as my honourable colleague Doug Moore, my honourable colleague.
Honourable Beerwinkel, is there a point of order?
Can we please have the relevance of the input to the State of the Province address?
Yes, I was listening. Thank you for that. I was listening very carefully to the Minister. He's hopefully doing that by way of introduction, and he will get on to his final speech now. Please, Minister.
Honourable Speaker, I promise you that I will not spend more than 11 minutes on the introduction.
Please continue.
I will move over, and nothing needs to be said anymore about the previous term of office. A lot was said about the performance of the DA in government over the past term of office and those things, but you know, there are certain indicators in government which is referred to as the impacts from the national government. Then there are the statistics, South Africa Stats SA, and my honourable colleague, the Leader of the Opposition, started by referring to toilets and sanitation and so on. I don't want to repeat all the stats. All I ask is please, I ask the opposition to please read and do their homework in terms of facts. So please just determine what is the situation, which is the most equal city in South Africa, which is the best provincial run government in South Africa, who has got the highest percentage of access to basic services, whether that be sanitation, water, electricity, refuse removal, all those issues. So those are the facts, Honourable Deputy Speaker. One cannot be the leader of the opposition and come here and not know those basic facts. Then you are really letting down those few people who supported you in the past election. The Democratic Alliance got a fresh mandate, Deputy Speaker, to carry on and to continue with the work that we have put in place in the previous term of office. And what the Premier has done is she has shared with us the exciting issues and the exciting news of how we're going to expand on the successes that we had in the previous government. And there are too many to reflect to, and many of my colleagues have reflected to those successes, and even the opposition to a certain extent acknowledged that. And I want to then take this opportunity, Honourable Speaker, Deputy Speaker, to refer to a few things which was mentioned here today. I cannot not mention or reply to something that was mentioned about the National Youth Development Agency. I cannot believe that the opposition has the guts to mention anything such as the NYDA. I mean, you know, this organization spent 100 million rand. Let's talk about budgets and expenditure. They spend 100 million rand on a festive, on a party. They spend 100,000 rand on balloons. You know, it's because at the youth they buy balloons, so they spend 100,000 rand on that. It is unbelievable. They only travel first class, business class, and you name it. They paid themselves 7 million rand bonuses. And yet, that is the best example that the opposition can bring of good governance to this house. What the NYDA did. The Honourable, many members, Honourable Deputy Speaker, mentioned about the rights of farm workers, the low wages, the eviction rate, all those things. None of those we have proof for. And I repeat what we have said over the past 5 years. Please bring us the proof of any evictions. Please bring us the proof of any evictions. But my honourable colleague Lentet has mentioned, and I think someone else also, of the Minister of Agriculture who paid only 26 rand to his labourer. And that is not the big scandal. That is a major scandal. It is a major scandal when you know, it reminds me of Jackie Celebi, you know. You take this policeman, you put him in charge of everything, you nominate him for Interpol, and then he ends up in jail for corruption, for stealing. He is a master in stealing. So now we've appointed this minister, and you're welcome to come to my farm. Now we've got this minister who pays his worker 26 rand a day.
Please, just a minute, Minister. There's too much counter comments from the opposition side. You can't comment on each and every comment of the minister. An interjection is a very selective comment. So keep your objections for the best opportunities. Don't give us a running commentary.
Honourable Deputy Speaker, that in itself is not the biggest scandal. The biggest scandal is going to be, and I'm posing this challenge to the ANC. What are you going to do?
Order. Is that a question or a point of order? Question. Minister Prabhuta, are you prepared to take a question?
No.
He's not prepared. Please take your seat.
I only take questions from senior members.
Order. Order.
Honourable Deputy Speaker, the real scandal will still come. And that is, what is the ANC going to do about this payment and the money that this minister is paying to his worker? Are they going to charge him? Because it's legislation, you know. Are you going to charge him? Are you going to give him a penalty, as we've heard over the news over the past week? So let us see what's going to happen. Yeah, he will most probably be promoted. Be promoted to the ambassador in the USA, you know, something like that. That's what you do with people that are failures in the ANC. The leader of the opposition has supported us with something. Really, it's true. He supported us. He supported us with education. And that is so wonderlik. Dis so mooi gebaar, regtig, dat ek wil dit koester vir 'n oomblik. But I want to ask the leader of the opposition, the honourable leader, will he not please make the effort to discuss this support for us in education with his counterpart and colleague and tripartite alliance member in SATU? Because they are actually the reason of all the failures in education in South Africa. Won't he just do that for us, please? So I really think we should acknowledge his support. A few members have mentioned the national health insurance, and still, since I am responsible...
Order, Minister Bukaka. Is it a question or do you want to ask a question? Yes. Minister Botha, are you prepared to take a question? I'm not sure if it's a senior member.
Only senior members.
I'm a senior member.
Only senior members. The ANC hasn't got senior members.
The answer is no, unfortunately.
They've got redeployed old members, but they haven't got senior members.
Please continue, Mr. Botha.
Yes. Honourable Speaker, my time is not going to be enough, so I can't take questions. And since the previous question you asked my colleague was so poor, I cannot allow him the opportunity. The NHI the Democratic Alliance support the objective of national health insurance 100%. Listen carefully. The DA support the objective of the national health insurance 100%. And that is the objective. That is to have equal access to quality healthcare for all. And I challenge the ANC to achieve that with NHI. I didn't say that. I did not say that. But I'll tell you what I will say to you about NHI. I think the National Minister is one of the, well, he's definitely one of the cleverest in the cabinet. No doubt about that. But that's also not a very difficult achievement. But it is a very safe,
Order.
It is a very safe option, Honourable Deputy Speaker. It's a very safe option to say, you know, we take this decision at Polokwane, we're going to institute national health insurance. It's going to take us between 14 and 25 years and so on. That's an easy thing. But I can make any promise now, today, and say, okay, listen, it will take me between 15 and 25 years. I will be long gone by the time that you will have to sort out that problem. So that is what is the DA's story about the national health insurance. But we will unpack it. But you know, Deputy Speaker, the most interesting thing about national health insurance is that the National Minister piloted a few projects. And we said, yes, we really want to take part in this because we want to be part of it so that we can't only criticize, we've got to take part so that we can have an objective opinion. You know what happened with those pilots in the country? They all failed. The ANC government used the money for other stuff, on parties and dinners and overseas trips and you name it. They dismally failed. We can have a debate on that. The projects, the minister is very unhappy because the pilot projects, the only one that succeeded in the country is the one in the Western Cape. So they all failed. So what is your story about national health insurance? Let's put it on the agenda. Let us have a debate on it. Yeah, right. So much was said about local government by my honourable colleague. So much was said about local government. No, that's your pet topic.
Order.
Honourable Speaker, Deputy Speaker, let me remind this House. Let me just, I'm not even only going to complete the sentence on each of these municipalities. I just want to reflect them to you in your term of office. What do you remember if I say Bito? What do you remember if I say Worcester? What do you remember if I say Oudtshoorn? What do you remember if I say Beaufort West? You know what you see? You see pathetic government. You see governments which the ANC and you, honourable member, sorry, I'm not pointing, the honourable member sitting there, made appointments with me and my colleagues and asked us to assist him in turning around those pathetic ANC governments. But even with our assistance, it couldn't be done because they were rotten to the end. And my question today is, why? Why are you not politically intervening in Cederberg? Why are you not politically intervening in Beaufort West? Or in Kanaland? Or in Oudtshoorn? Oudtshoorn is a disgrace. So why is the ruling party, the ANC, not intervening? They can't do it because there is no respect for them even as leaders. My honourable member, Marius Fransman, is a leader of a minority in his own party. He can't go to Oudtshoorn. They won't allow him there. And so there are many other places which the same is applicable. I'm not going to elaborate on issues that many of the issues that the honourable member David said, because I think she tried her very best. But then there's the interesting matter about the national revolution, National Democratic Revolution and the National Development Plan. You know, the truth is actually that the NDR undermines the NDP, and that is according your own leaders. That's according your own, it's according your own party. It is according comrades such as Kader Asmal saying that the NDR undermines the NDP. Yes, it undermines the NDP. You can do a simple Google search on it. You can do a simple Google search.
Order.
You know,
Order.
It's not NDR. The NDR, yeah. NDR. Sorry, man.
Order,
Yeah.
Minister Botha. Order. There's too much comments from the side now, please. Order.
So, Honourable Deputy Speaker, you know, it is, I don't understand. The Honourable Member of the Leader of the Opposition said, it is not about the growth of the economy. He opened, I took a note, he said, it is not about the growth of the economy. It is about sharing the economy. Now, so,
Order,
you know,
Minister Botha. Your time has almost expired. Get to the
let
last-
me say,
Order.
that is he quoted a Marxist, and he quoted a comedian. And maybe he's a Marxist comedian, because I don't understand that statement.
Thank you. Order. Order, members. Honourable Davids, when I ask for order, it means order in the House, please. We've now reached the end of this stage of the debate. We will suspend business now for supper time. The bells will be rung afterwards to call us back, and then the Premier will reply to the debate. The House is suspended.